Welcome to the Patron Saints of Pop Culture podcast. I'm Miguel Covarrubias.
And I'm Kathy Covarrubias. And today, let's talk about The Good Place Season 3. A little late, but hey, better late than never, right?
It's true. Just want to say we're sorry for getting this out a little bit late. We've had a pretty rough couple of weeks. We lost another family member, and so it's been difficult trying to schedule time where we're either not, one of us is not crying, and our toddler's not awake and crying. Basically, there's a lot of crying going on.
Yeah, it's okay, but we feel better now. Today, I actually told my boss, I'm like, I feel really good today, and he was like, "Are you okay?"
Well, and for the subject matter, we're going to be talking about The Good Place today. It was a little bit of a weird and difficult topic for us to kind of talk about so soon.
Yeah, but with there being some time passing in between, I feel like we can definitely get through the topic. And plus, I mean, it's a comedy show, so yeah, it's okay.
Well, yeah, but I'm going to be getting real here in just a second, so... even though we're talking about a comedy show.
Like Cheaty Reel?
Like Cheaty Reel, yeah. I'll be indecisive about everything that I say.
Oh, good. All right, sounds like a plan.
Am I sure?
I don't know. Are you? Do you want to continue on with this podcast?
I don't know.
Well, you got to make a decision now because we're recording as we speak.
Okay. Our summary and review of Season 3. Well, let's see. Season 3 is They're Alive Again. And Michael is trying to get his plan enacted where they get all together on planet Earth to make them good people on Earth while they're living, but then the beans get spilled. So they decide to become the Soul Squad. And
you're running out of time. This is a really long summary.
I know. Then they get to the Good Place and try to come up with a new plan. You
skipped a lot. I'm gonna fill in between the the beans were spilled and they get to the good place, if you don't mind. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So the beans are spilled. So now they try to figure out a way for them to get into the good place because obviously what they were doing wasn't working. So they found out this conspiracy about, well, I guess it's not really a conspiracy, but push comes to shove. Basically, even your good deeds aren't really that good, essentially. Yeah. And so now they're trying to figure out what to do in order to prove that the point system is completely false. Not false. It's wrong.
It's wrong.
It's set up wrong. Yes. And so now that gives us to Season 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
I think that Season 3 dropped at a very weird time in our lives. So I'm going to give it I really liked it because I think it came at the right time for me. And a lot of my own self-questioning, my own self-discovery on who I am as a human being, who I am as a person. And, so I'm going to be giving it, a good blessing.
I too liked Season 3. Like Season 2, you come in going, what's going to happen? Like, how can they possibly continue on in the series and make it interesting? Mm-hmm. And they do. And one thing I liked about Season 3 is that they could have made it a big old thing about them, living a long life, trying to go to their family members and friends and trying to make them good people so they can make it into the good place. That alone, just them going to their family and friends, that could have been a whole season.
Oh yeah,
But no, they just made it one or two episodes, and they just moved on. So which is very, I guess.
I think the writers are writing some of the very the smartest television.
Yeah.
That there is out there right now.
Yeah, it's very ballsy. That's what I was trying to say.
It's ballsy.
It's very ballsy.
I mean, they're bold. They're writing basically philosophy into a good story format, something that's entertaining and you can basically, it's like philosophy 101. You could have somebody sit down and watch The Good Place season 1 through 3 and them be like, okay, I can do
some basic
philosophy 101.
Yes, yep. I
wouldn't recommend that as cramming for your test for philosophy
no,
101.
oh gosh, no. Especially if you're not actually, if Chidi hasn't mentioned the people that you're supposed to be studying up on,
studying.
Maybe you shouldn't just watch the seasons and think you're good.
I don't think they've brought up Plato or Aristotle or Socrates a whole lot.
Like maybe a handful of times, but not in depth. Oh wait, was that your review? That was your review, right?
You were working on your review. Sorry, I jumped into your review.
I got lost. I too liked it. Again, it was very ballsy, and I think the one thing I like about this just series in general is that the writers and I guess we can have the producers take some kind of credit because they have to approve really what the writers want to do.
Yeah.
Like they take normal sitcom tropes and just either completely ignore it or they kind of jump over it. Like I said, like they could have had a whole season of them just going through and visiting family members, but they're just nope. And any normal sitcom, any other sitcom would have done that because it would have filled up time.
It would have stretched it out. It would have given them storyline for a lot longer.
Yeah, but really that's kind of lazy writing.
It is.
If you think about it.
Most sitcoms go with the lazy writing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, How I Met Your Mother and Friends.
Yeah, but like oh gosh, what is he tied in with? So the people who are working on The Good Place also did like Parks and Rec, for example.
Yeah.
And Parks and Rec, again, it was, similar to premise a little bit to The Office, but it definitely was able to build up its own fan base and hold up on its own.
Well, honestly, Parks and Rec kind of stands the test of time, whereas...
Sorry, I just dropped my wine glass, everybody. It's all right.
Whereas things like The Office, you go back and watch The Office now and you're kind of like, oh, that's not funny anymore.
Yeah, no, there's certain things in The Office that definitely aren't funny, but anyway, we're not talking about Parks and Rec or The Office. We are talking about The Good Place, Season 3.
Yeah. But I think that Good Place may stand the test of time. I mean, we'll come back to it, I'm sure, eventually and be like, yeah, I guess it does. It does still stand up, so.
My question is, if time is, like, as wibbly-wobbly and what word does it make? I can't remember.
Jeremy Bearimy?
Yes. If it's so Jeremy Bearimy, then why did all 4 of the participants die around the same time? Like, why were they all on Earth?
Because it was Michael's chance to take people, and it was like, okay, these 4.
Yeah, but why? That's the thing. Like, why? But anyway,
they'll get into that.
I'm sure.
That'll be something in season 5, maybe. Anyway, like I said, this really came at a weird time in my own life, and that I don't know how many people that you probably know that were formerly in ministry. I'm, of course, talking to the listeners and not you personally, because I know about how many people you know personally.
Oh, me? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for our listeners, I don't know how many people you know that have been in ministry that have transitioned out into what I'm going to call real jobs.
Secular positions and into a secular life. And for many of them, a lot of their identity is wrapped up in who they are as a person or like what they do as a person. Oh, yeah.
I should say.
And heck, even as people like me who weren't actually in ministry, the fact that my family members, not just you, but like my like growing up, my grandpa was a deacon, my mom was a children's minister, and my other grandpa was part of the Knights of Columbus. Well, anyway, like it was really ingrained into my psyche that I don't know, it's just different. I'm like, it's almost the same. Yeah, I think you and I are, but I'm just on a different level, or it's like the same level, but just a different platform.
Okay.
Right.
All
So
right.
we're same level, So we know it's
So
same
like same
experiences.
page, but different paragraphs.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the whole idea for me is that The Good Place was starting to come at a time where I was starting to doubt these things in myself. And a lot of people who they transition out of ministry and they transition into more secular positions, that it's a hard time separating themselves from their faith, from who they were as ministers. And for me, I really starting to question a lot of those things, and as I watched The Good Place, I started to question even about the afterlife. And this is, I mean, I know this is just a secondary, that's just the situation for the comedy to take place in.
Yes.
But, I mean, this is something that, especially in this season, it kind of, the point system is really what brought it about for me. And so, you know, I want to ask, what are your thoughts on the afterlife?
So I went through this kind of transition period, I guess, a little bit before you did.
Yeah.
I just wasn't as open about it, and I was just, figuring it out for myself. So I'm very comfortable in saying I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. But if it comes across to where there is no afterlife, I'm okay with that. I'm just going to live my best life, and I'm talking about being a good person. I'm not talking about doing what I want and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
being a garbage person.
I'm not going to be a garbage person. I'm not
Like
going to be
Eleanor.
I'm not going to be an Eleanor. If anything, I'm a cheaty, but I'm going to live as
We both can't be cheaty.
well, because I'm kind of indecisive. Well, if out of the four of them, I'm definitely not Jason, or am I Jason?
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway, we'll think about that.
Maybe Janet.
Maybe, yes, if anybody, I am Janet. So now I just lost track of what I was talking about. Oh yeah, back to what I think about the afterlife. So the reason why I still am trying to live my best life as a good person is because since I don't know what comes after we close our eyes for the last time, I'm just going to prepare myself and just be as nice and friendly and kind as I possibly can. Push comes to shove, the worst case scenario is I close my eyes and that's it. But the people around me in my life, hopefully, will have recognized how nice I was and kind I was and loving I was. And that would be enough. Mm-hmm. Kind of like my grandma.
Yeah. And for me, what I feel about the afterlife, and I know we started this conversation a while ago, and I mean, you told me last year that you didn't believe in an afterlife anymore. And for me, hearing that was almost as a rejection of me as a person because of who I was.
Well, it's not that I don't believe in an afterlife. I'm comfortable.
No,
with
I know.
Nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. And, but I'm coming to realize that was a big part of myself. And that's why I think for me, I'm coming to this point now where, I had a completely different view of the afterlife, where I feel like that we are all part of the same spirit in a way, but then, I started energy. And then over the course of time, and especially recently, it's been that, no, I maybe it is just a ceasing of existing. But the thing is, we did exist. And that in itself is fantastic, that our molecules came together out of, billions of molecules all over the place.
Yeah.
And they just happen to align to whoever we are. Mm-hmm. And that is fantastic in and of itself. How can we want more than that?
Yeah.
And so, because for me, I got this feeling that religion has become so much of using morality, or using eternal punishment, or even the eternal reward system as kind of as morality police.
Yeah.
As making sure that people are good. But, I mean, is it possible to be moral without that?
Well, Yeah, obviously. I mean, I know so many people who are atheists and have been for a very long time who are the nicest and kindest people that I know. And I also know some of the meanest, rudest, just crappiest Christians that totally profess that they are like top Christian material according to themselves. And they're just the worst people on earth.
I would make a list, but we don't have enough time.
No, but you see what I mean. Like, I definitely know, and of course I know people who are Christian who are kind and generous and nice and, put others before themselves, obviously.
Yeah.
And there are atheists out there that are also too rude and condescending and that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But my point is, it's a pretty level, playing field.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like I know an equal number on both sides.
Well, I don't think that morality has anything to do with that. Mm-mm. I don't think the motivations for your morality should even come into play into religion. Mm-hmm. Because isn't religion about helping you to find your own spiritual path?
Well, it's supposed to be.
Well, of course it's supposed to be. And see, that's what really just kind of blows my mind, is that we don't have any proof. We don't even have any proof that using it as the morality police as a motivator for people to be moral, that it actually works. Mm-hmm. Because there are an equal number of atheists and theists, of whatever religion they happen to be, mono or polytheist, that let's see, there's another word too. But
It's just moving on. Just moving on.
Just gonna move on. That, there's not enough, the sample size is not enough to say equivocally one way or the other that there is.
That religion makes you moral.
Religion makes you moral, or that lack of religion makes you moral.
Yeah, or immoral.
Or immoral.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, because they were still fighting the same wars in that one South Park episode where science was the religion or whatever that was when Cartman goes to the future.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but all right.
So the thing is, when the afterlife is used as a motivator in your morality, who ultimately wins?
I don't know why you're asking me. I don't know.
I would argue that it's the spiritual leaders. It is giving power to those who are in charge of those communities. Mm-hmm. It is basically them writing the rules. It's them telling you what makes you moral, what makes you immoral. It is them that
prophets, literally.
Yeah, prophets, and prophets both ET and IT for them. Mm-hmm. That they're getting money out of you. It's basically a cult system now in most, I would say, Western religions. Mm-hmm. A lot of Western religions are all about getting butts in the seats and money in the coffers. And I mean, this is a hard thing for me to say because, I was part of that system for such a long time. But, I don't know. Maybe religion can be redeemed. What do you think? Can religion be redeemed?
Oh, well, it really depends on if the right people end up getting into positions of power ultimately.
Well, and that's the problem. I think that we've strayed too far from a right idea of what religion should be. Because we just said that, religion is about giving you the right spiritual path. And I think this is what the biggest question that was being asked in The Good Place, but it was very subtle throughout the entire thing, was Eleanor coming to this realization for herself that it's just life, that you have to be good to those around you, that you can't worry about some of the bigger stuff. You just got to be there and present in those moments where you are. And it was, each of the characters had their own realization of this. I think it was especially for Chidi when he goes through his whole nihilistic moment where he's like, nothing has meaning. I'm going to make chili in the middle of class, wearing my wine shirt that's too small.
Yep. Well, and he goes shirtless for a while, which we
Yes.
all appreciate.
Yeah, Chidi's not really my type, but he's got a good body, so...
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Those glasses, though, and that body just kind of went weird.
Okay. Yeah, and, I mean...
Should we move on?
Yeah. I'm just going to get stuck on that because this is, for me, it was a lot of my own struggle, especially behind the scenes while I was watching this, this is what I was getting from it. And for me, at this point in time in my life, I would say that religion is not a motivator for me anymore. That I am probably more on the atheist side of agnostic at this point in time in my life. Which, for those of you who would know me personally, and listen to the show, I know there's kind of a big coming out for you, so I'm sorry, but,
Oh, gosh. I'm just thinking of a few people in my head. Oh, no. Okay, you're going to get phone calls.
my mom doesn't listen to the show. So
Okay. All right. So maybe you won't get phone calls.
I won't get phone calls. Yeah, I mean, I love The Good Place, and I love this, and I loved that it made me ask these questions for my own life. Mm-hmm. I love that it had me to, really think about my own morality and where it was being motivated from. That I'm a good person for those who are around me. That I will be present in the moment, that my family is enough for me. That my wife and my son are the main things that I should be focused on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one thing that I took away from the season as well, too, was really interesting. Again, what you mentioned it earlier was the point system.
Yeah.
Which is very true, especially in today's day and age with just technology, production, and that kind of stuff. So really, how good can you really be? I mean, the one person that got the most points was miserable. He was absolutely miserable.
But he didn't make it into the good place,
because
he had the system figured out.
Well, because he, because he did initially make it into the good place, but because they went back in time, talked to him, he ended up not making it to the good place, right? No, when they got the book, they found out that nobody made it into the good place for 500 years. Well, what about that guy that they have the picture up?
Yeah, that's the guy.
But he made it into the good place.
No, he didn't. He just figured it out one night when he was high.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. But anyway, so if you guys haven't seen this before, so I want you to pause our podcast as soon as I tell you when to watch this video. It's actually a College Humor video. I know you're like, College Humor is still around? Yes, they are. They're still around. The video is called The Social Consequences of Everything. Now, pause our podcast. Go watch it.
Welcome
now
back.
You're back. All right. So...
And yes, that was Adam Conover.
Yes, it was, because he's part of College Humor. So I really like that video. Like when we were watching the series, this video came into my mind because I remember watching it and going like, oh my gosh, they're right. Like every suggestion that they had, even the ones to replace the decisions that were supposed to be a better alternative, still had some bad outcomes or still had some negative consequences to it. Mm-hmm. I mean, even the good choices, like I said, had some harmful aspects to it. So like, they were like, oh yeah, well, let's just go lay on the beach. We can't figure out what to do. Let's just go ahead and just lay on the beach since everything that we're trying to figure out to do has some bad consequences with it. And then in the video, they're like, oh no, we can't lay on the beach because technically we're litter.
It was laying in the water.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Technically we're litter. Yep. So ultimately they decide that they're going to go sit in the basement in the dark.
And wait until tomorrow.
Yes. Yep. That was their alternative. But it really brings up a good point, because even those people who say that they are doing things because they've done their research, if you can feel my air quotes, and that they're good for the environment and that kind of stuff, aren't necessarily true. Like what they've researched isn't necessarily the case, or there's been other research done to counteract or contradict what was done before. Like, for example, like plant-based milk versus cow's milk. All right. So, full disclosure, we don't really drink cow's milk. Peter does, our son, because, I mean, it's recommended right now for him to drink that. But as soon as we have figured out a good plant-based option, so this is what came about. So I know that with cow's milk, you know, they have those added hormones in it and that kind of stuff, and it's kind of hard really to detect the cow's milk without the hormones in it.
And dairy farming, ranching is also one of the major contributors to greenhouse gases.
Exactly. Yep. And then the cows aren't necessarily always treated very well. And so, like, the plan eventually is to go to a plant-based milk for our family. And so I was like, okay, what is the best option? There was recent news that almond milk isn't that good because it's actually contributing to the drought that's going on in California, which I'm like, that was like, I love almond milk. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're not doing almond milk anymore. But then I was also researching like soy milk, and I was like, well, soy milk isn't all that great, I guess. And then I was looking at rice milk, and like rice milk has like hardly any like nutritional value to it. Like they all just like add it to it, which isn't necessarily good either. So I came to my own realization that even though I was trying to do a good thing, the so-called good alternatives, like had bad side effects as well too. So then I was like, well, how do I pick I guess the least worst option, right? You know?
Yeah.
Like how do I pick that? I think I've decided on cashew milk. I just need to find a place that actually sells cashew milk. But I think I've decided on that. So if you find out anything bad about cashew milk, please comment on the video so then I know not to get cashew milk and I'll think of something else. Sorry, I've talked a lot about milk, but
yes.
But the point being is, like, in the good place, no matter which milk I chose, there's certain points associated with it. And I would have had to try to do this mad calculation to try to figure out which one would have the least negative points associated with it, which is just absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm trying to be a good person. I'm trying to make the right decision, and I could totally throw my whole thing off balance by choosing the wrong milk.
Yeah. Well, we recently talked about this a little bit in one of our previous podcasts about this very thing, and about how that life is just complicated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like, obviously, me with the milk. What things do you do that you know have a better alternative, if that makes sense?
Well, I even brought up in that conversation about coffee. Mm-hmm. Is that, I drink coffee, and I don't want to stop drinking coffee because I know a little bit about the horribleness.
Why coffee's so bad? Well, it depends. It depends on where you get the coffee, but
depends on like fair trade coffee. But even then, fair trade coffee, like they could just throw that stamp on there.
Yeah, it's not always guaranteed.
It causes, like, there's a lot of slavery involved in it. There is a lot of just horrible practices. Coffee is also contributing to the ending of rainforests and also contributing to greenhouse gases. There is a lot of stuff which I am just going to willfully ignore because we have a toddler.
Yeah. Well, then why? So then tell me, since you need the caffeine, why do you continue to drink coffee instead of using some kind of alternate thing to get your caffeine?
Primarily because it's the best delivery system for me. Mm-hmm. I can't drink tea. Tea just isn't has enough caffeine kick to it.
Yeah.
Energy drinks just kind of make me jittery. Let's see, like cola products are like too much sugar, or alternate sugar, which kind of does weird things to my body. Mm-hmm. So like aspartame still kind of like it gives me headaches. which also saw that it can also cause brain cancer. But that was just a headline, and I'm not going to take my medical advice from headlines. So
neither should you. So I mean, we all have that little thing that we know we could do a different choice, a better choice to help out the world, but we still choose to do what we want, essentially.
Yeah.
Because we have to do like a cost and analysis. I mean, in terms of how it's going to affect you, right?
Yeah. Cost risk analysis.
Yeah. I can't remember, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Business terms. Business.
Synergy.
Another example too, like I wanted to mention, we were kind of talking about this as well. So there's certain things that you can do that result in the same outcome ultimately, but are kind of different. So the one thing that I came up with or I thought about that I wanted to discuss was the difference between forgetting your reusable bags at home and then purposely not bringing them with you when you go to the grocery store. Ultimately, they're going to have the same outcome. You're going to have to bag your groceries in either plastic bags or paper bags.
Or buy a new reusable grocery bag.
Yes, or do that, which then affects your wallet. So, obviously, according to the Good Place, I mean, I would hope that the forgetting your bags would be less points, right?
Yeah. Well, and...
I'd hope, though, because who knows, with this crazy point system, it might be negative because maybe being forgetful is its own negativity, right?
Well, it's its own negativity, but also, like, depending on what you choose. I remember there was a commercial that was paper or plastic, and like the guy was standing there at the cashier and thinking about the environmental impacts of each, and like it was like showed factories and all this stuff for plastic and them getting caught in the environment and all this other stuff, and paper of cutting down trees and all this other stuff. So I mean, either way, and then you have the reusable grocery bags that you purposely forget at home. That if you're gonna buy more of them, like spending that money, if that also because those
it still contributes to plastic.
Yeah, it still contributes to plastic, and it's taking up space in your home, and then what are you going to do with it? You're going to throw it away, and then it's not going to be recycled, and so it contributes to the landfill. So yeah, damned if you do and damned if you don't.
But so do you think that because Chidi, for example, like he's indecisive, we know because of Chidi that indecisiveness has its own negative points associated with it.
Yeah.
So my guess,
because his indecisiveness caused pain to his loved ones.
Yeah, exactly. But forgetting your bag causes pain to the earth.
Yeah.
So then, what? So really, now that I'm thinking about it, now that I brought that up, it's kind of hard to decide whether you purposefully didn't bring them.
Well,
is going to equal out to be the same points as.
See, that almost comes across to like the law with legal ramifications of things. Mm-hmm. Like you can't get away with the willful ignorance of
I didn't know I was breaking the law.
Yeah, I didn't know I was speeding. You're still gonna get a ticket. Mm-hmm. So like I didn't know I forgot to bring my grocery bags. So you're still gonna get negative points.
Yeah, but
the same amount.
Okay, so now that we brought these very valid points up, what points would you associate or attribute to each one? The forgetting your bags, now that you know that the forgetting aspect is also another way to earn negative points, as well as not bringing your bags. And then purposefully not bringing your bags with the purposeful aspect of it having points attributed, plus, of course, not bringing your bags.
I would say there would be more negative points for purposely not bringing your bags because you're purposely not doing it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what your intentions are. Like, are you going to go to get a paper bag because you need a paper bag to make kettle corn or something?
Oh, good point. I did that once. It's the best way to make kettle corn. Or not kettle corn, caramel corn.
Caramel corn, yeah.
Gosh, I would agree to that yesterday, but now that I think about it more, it's really hard to decide. I think they're probably very close.
Yeah.
Ultimately. But I would hope that the one where you purposefully not bringing your bag would result in more points. But who knows? Because our point system is stupidly complicated.
Yeah, nobody has gotten into the good place for 500 years, which is kind of funny because about 500 years is about the time that the Borgias went over, kind of overboard with the Catholic Church, which led to the Protestant Reformation, which led to a lot of the Western Church. So,
hey, well...
And you can't dispute the fact that the Western Church has had a major impact on the whole of Christendom.
Oh, yeah.
Evangelicals basically rule Christianity, which is, I see why a number one reason why people want to just throw it out altogether. Throw the baby out with the bathwater, as you hear a lot of people say on Twitter.
Yep. So, I want to hear from you guys. Now, what are some interesting this or that type of scenarios that you think would be a good discussion point to try to figure out what would be a higher points and why? I kind of like to think about that kind of stuff because I'm weird, but I think it's a good kind of jumping off point from talking from the good place. So if you have any ideas, please let us know. You can reach out to us by commenting on our Instagram. We can be found at Patron Saints of Pop Culture. Also on Facebook at Patron Saints of Pop Culture. You can also find us on Twitter at Real Honest Faith. And last but not least, you can also venture to our website at thehonestfaith.com. Am I trying to close this out too early?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
So with all of that being said, we invite you to come and join the conversation.
Bye.